wanted to turn a little bit now to giving thanks. I know everyone, there are many different ways of giving thanks and many different reasons how and why we give thanks. I'm curious about how the colonists and the native people expressed gratitude. Are there specific rituals and celebrations that you follow?
Of course, every day we give thanks at all times. Always when we are eating and when we are cooking, we are thanking God for what has been given to us and for what we have to eat. So every time we eat, we pray. We pray through the day to thank God, because anything good that we have is for the goodness of God,
Right.
for which we must always be grateful and always remember.
And Habamak, are there rituals that you perform to express gratitude?
Nakis, yes. When Wampanoag hunt,
Yes?
before, during, and after, we pray, we give thanks. Before we eat mitzash,
Mitzash, eat. Mm-hmm.
we pray, we give thanks. Before sun comes up, we pray, give thanks. When the sun goes down, we pray and give
So
thanks.
You're grateful for the day, every day.
All
And for the
times.
food that you eat. Randy, I just want to ask, have those rituals continued into modern day customs with the Wampanoag?
Most definitely, with the Wampanoag Confederacy Nation. The ceremonies throughout the summer and spring. Spring is our New Year, so that's the time that we would have ceremony and give thanks. Also, the first berry that ripens of the year is a strawberry.
Mm-hmm.
We have a strawberry Thanksgiving. Part of our harvest, we have a green corn Thanksgiving. And then also the fall, the cranberry is the last berry. And we're well known in New England for cranberries.
Right.
And so we have a ceremony then, and also for the winter, which we call Nakomo. Because winter time is a time that the snow falls, we call it medicine. And then when it melts, everything's brand new again.
And I love hearing that strawberries are the first to harvest and cranberries are the last. That's interesting, and everything in between, right? Speaking of food, though, I wanted to ask you, is food a part of your daily thanking ritual?
Well, truly, when as a tone we give thanks,
Right.
it is a day that we do not eat at all. We fast. Our elder may say, Plymouth, we will give thanks for something wondrous good which has happened, and we will not eat all the day, but pray, because even our hunger will remind us of our thankfulness for what God has given us. And so for us, a day of thanksgiving is a day when we do not eat at all.
When you don't eat, which
Aye.
is very different for us today. Is food a part of a ritual then? Obviously, when you are hunting, it must be.
Yes, according to time, we give thanks and we feast.
You feast?
A lot of the berries, strawberries, cranberries. It's all wami, it's all mitzash. It's all
food.
in the mitzash.
Right. Now, I want to turn to the first harvest meal. We've talked about the year 1621 when this occurred, when the Plymouth colonists and the Wampanoag people shared an autumn harvest feast that I think is acknowledged today as one of the first Thanksgivings in the colonies. I know there are a lot of uncertainties around it, but what do we know about what actually happened?
Well, we are lucky that we do have a source. Edward Winslow wrote a letter to a friend back in England describing the event. And so he does give us a lot of facts. We know that it lasted 3 days. We know that they had wild fowl, that they went out hunting for fowl. We know that there was feasting and sporting, and we know that there were about 50 Englishmen there and more than 90 Wampanoag.
So the Wampanoag were there.
Yes. And he sent those men out. And for native ways, when you're gifting somebody, we know that everything's in a good way.
And so at a gift at the feast, you would bring food for the settlers.
Right.
Okay. Well, it's much like what we do today, I guess, right? We all bring food over for our big Thanksgiving meal. Speaking of, you mentioned feasting. Can you tell us a little bit, actually, Constance, can you maybe tell us a little bit about the food that was eaten at the first harvest meal?
Yeah, truly. I did help my mother to prepare the food, and I did help her to prepare the fish that we did have.
We've roasted the duck father shot that day. He was falling and he shot down a duck. We roasted that together.
Yay, we did have some of the native corn of this country. Yay, we had some of that and the
And the pumpkin, the
yes.
pumpkin that is
Pumpkin,
native, that's a standing dish here.
Yes.
We eat that all the time this time of year, yeah.
Yay.
Those were some of the things.
Yay, very good leaf things.
And Habamak, what did the Wampanoag contribute to the feast?
Us Panisawak, the warriors,
Mm-hmm.
brought Atakawa, a deer.
Deer.
Yeah, that's
Venison.
Right. Venison, excellent, good meat.
Yes.
How did the word Thanksgiving actually come about?
Well, I think it comes from giving thanks, because that's certainly what we do, though I think that there are sort of two different kinds of Thanksgivings. There's the one that Goodwife Hopkins talked about, which to them is more of a religious celebration where there's not food involved, but definitely a time for giving thanks. And then there's the harvest celebration that we've been talking about that took place in 1621,
Right.
that was also a way of giving thanks, but was called more of a harvest celebration.
Well, our own Thanksgiving is right around the corner. How different would you say that 1621 harvest was from today's celebration?
That's a good question. I think, well, they didn't have parades.
Right? Or floats?
or Black Friday the day after, or
Right.
floats and all of that. The foods were a little bit different. We don't know for sure if they even really had turkey back then. No mashed potatoes. So different foods.
Different foods. And how similar would you say that the celebration might be? What are some of the customs that have been preserved through the years?
Well, I think it's for all people that they're giving thanks that day for family,
Right.
loved ones, joining together to make a meal that is bringing people together. And you don't see uncles and aunts and cousins that much, maybe once or twice a year, and that's the time to sit down and celebrate life.